Cheers, guys. Epix 911. Welcome to the Monday, February 27th, 2017 edition of VR News. Another busy news day. Yesterday wasn't busy, but it had some good news. That continues today. It was nice to get that yesterday before the work week started. Today starts off very much the same. The game Raw Data. Let's talk about that for a bit. So Raw Data came out July 14th last summer. And for me personally, it came out at a time when I was disappointed with Vive as a company. I'd had some bad customer service experiences, hardware quality control issues. Now, they did right with me. Daniel O'Brien was fantastic and an example of what an executive for a company should be. But there was still lingering disappointment. And Raw Data came and it had this exceptionally high level of polish. And unless you've tried dozens of the craptacular VR games that are out there, and there's a lot of crap out there, it's difficult to understand why that's such an amazing thing. It should be the norm, I totally agree, but it's not. Not only was it polished, but it has basically been my number 2 game since the launch date. It's a game that offers a lot of replayability, and what I'm going to say now is directed directly at those of you who are exclusive Rift gamers, users. Unless you absolutely loathe or vehemently despise wave-based first-person games, get Raw Data. Get it because it is going to be a game that adds value to your library. It's going to give you dozens upon dozens of hours of replayability and a game in your catalog that you can play with buddies, play by yourself, and basically just keep installed. It's not one of those rotate out style games. So strongly urge you guys, it'll be coming out in March. They're also going to add the ability, also rolled out in March, to crossplay with HTC Vive users for co-op, which is freaking fantastic. So definitely some good gaming news. You guys are in for a hell of a good game, even this many months later. Still on the topic of HTC, this was an interview at the GDC with Alvin Graylin. It was Upload VR. He was basically asked to comment on Sony releasing their sales figures. And he said, I think it's a very healthy sign. I mean, at the end of the day, the more VR experiences out there, the more users that are using VR, the faster this industry is going to grow. So we're really happy for Sony. We think they've done a really good job. He then goes on to basically pay his own company compliments, even though he declined to provide any official sales numbers for HTC Vive units. So unfortunately, we're still going off of those estimates. I personally don't see the harm in releasing those right now, but whatever, that's their choice. So be it. But it's good to see that, you know, regardless of where, VR being successful is benefiting everybody. Next story, also HTC confirming the pricing and dates when they go on sale for the tracker and the Deluxe audio strap. So they are each $100 US, which I think is fair for the tracker, considering the Vive controller itself is $179. I think that's a fair price for the tracker. The Deluxe audio accessory strap, however, no. 49 to 69 is kind of where I would have thought that would have been my expectation, but what the hell do I know, right? What are your guys' thoughts on that? Is it priced a little too high? Are you okay with it? Let me know in the comments. Now, in terms of dates, if you're a developer, starting March 27th, you're going to be able to order the trackers. The Deluxe audio straps are going to go into pre-order initially, and that's May 2nd. So that was a little disappointing. It must mean that what they showed off at the convention was a very early rough prototype. To, be waiting until May for just pre-ordering, unless they want to make absolutely sure that their supply chain can handle, which I can understand, I would have hoped they would have been a little more aggressive, but the date is the date. Next story, the last one, well, two more, but the second to last one dealing with the HTC Vive. Lots of Vive news, what can I say? They have revealed at the Game Developers Conference a payment plan. Now, we knew about that as an option, but we have some details on it now. So, JD.com in America will sell the Vive with a 0% financing scheme with monthly payments of $138 plus taxes and shipping, and that's over 6 months, or $66.58 over 12 months. So those are the 0% financing schemes. Then they've got a third option, which is a 7.99% plan for $40.13 US a month over 2 years. So you do pay interest for the 2-year ones, but if you were on the fence and you have a steady source of income, but your monthly disposable income, isn't that high for miscellaneous treats for yourself, or you were going to put a certain amount of money aside anyways, I think this would be a good idea. If you're somebody who's bad with credit, though, I would urge you to, maybe, do the first two options, but maybe not the third. It's a longer term, and of course, lots of things can happen in 2 years, right? Economy, whatever. But still, China, 0% financing schemes are on offer. One is 3 months at $334 US equivalent. The next 6 months at $167 equivalent. And the final is a year option. So an entire year, $83 US per month payment. And the last HTC Vive, until we get to the last story, they have indicated that soon you're going to be able to pay $6.99 US for a VR content subscription. And what that'll allow you to do, so this is going to be for Viveport. It will allow you, so for $7 US, you're going to get a free month trial first, then it will kick in, and it'll essentially allow you to select 5 experiences a month from the pool that they're offering. So you can cycle those in and out each month for that price. That's actually not too bad. How much value are you going to get? It depends on ultimately how much they put up on Viveport versus, what you can get off of Steam. That'll be interesting to see and evaluate down the road once this becomes, actually used. Next story, LG, the Korean company, to reveal a virtual reality headset prototype based on Steam VR's tracking. Now, we had been told that they designed it in such a way that other manufacturers could step up and create their own HMDs to work with the tracking system, OSVR, for example. And that's exactly what LG has done. They're going to be showing this unit a preview at, the currently underway Game Developers Conference, where they hope to get feedback from developers on the headset in terms of pricing, launch dates, where, we don't know yet. That's all going to be announced, according to Valve, at a later date. Now, what they did say is that it's designed to deliver a high-fidelity, next-generation VR experience, which doesn't really tell you anything because that would be your expectation. Anyways, so next story. We're going to circle back to Vive again, but this has to do with the Khronos Group. And we've talked about these guys several months ago and their attempt to develop an open standard. Well, they've now named that VR open standard, and it's called OpenXR. Capital X, capital R. and the word open. And it's basically going to be comprised of representatives from the world's leading AR and VR companies. Now, what was interesting is that Oculus is already a member of that group. And it was kind of funny because Jason Rubin kind of let shots go at Vive, saying, look, they talk a mean game about being open, but they're not part of this. Well, HTC responded to that and came up with their own statement, which goes as follows. We share the same vision as Khronos with keeping VR an open platform and are currently working with Khronos to formally join their initiative and membership. So in terms of all the main players, they are now look like they're all going to be on board. This might turn into something. Now we turn our attention to Oculus. Their 1.12 update, which had been in beta, has now launched for the general public. This is the one that's supposed to improve tracking quality. And thankfully, my work stuff has been mostly resolved. Tonight should be the night I get to try out my third camera, third sensor, and do the tracking. So it's perfect timing for 1.12 to roll out. There's not a hell of a lot else available other than the fixes. Oculus home users can now label reviews as spam, and some fixes for Unity and Unreal Engine content, but the main focus of this update was, of course, the stability of tracking. Now, this next news story focuses on the educational aspect of virtual reality. We've also talked quite a bit about that and the amazing possibilities for students in the future using VR to be able to visualize science, history in a way that we never could have dreamed of when we were in school, right? Instead, if you got lucky, you had a teacher that was just really good at telling a story, and they would, now thankfully I just was such a history geek. I loved listening even when it was dry, but a good teacher with good oral skills makes all the difference in a case like that. Well, back to kids in the future, there is a company called ExplainVR and Explain3D. It's two companies under the same umbrella. Founder is Peter Tomasevich, and he discussed with Upload VR kind of what they're hoping to do. And he said, we asked ourselves how to create an educational aid that will bring you to space, to the forest, or whatever, wherever you want in a second without buying expensive, solid educational aids. So Explain3D is a system designed for teachers, parents, and students to learn how cars, plants, and a bunch of other everyday objects work. And their long-term goal is to create educational tools for schools. And that's not easy, they say, because schools or educational institutions are sometimes very slow in adopting new technologies, mostly due to financial constraints, which is also true. But that most important aspect that we talked about, and I don't know about you guys, if any of you do this, but before the internet, I could sit down with, because I remember my parents had a Funk and Wagnalls encyclopedia set. And I literally could grab a book, lay on my bed, and just read for 3-4 hours. Yep. I did say I was ultra nerdy, guys, and geeky. This is true. And that should probably kind of nail the coffin shut if there was any doubt. But yeah, I loved encyclopedias, whether it was learning about the planets, rockets. Encarta came out years later, same thing. And then, of course, Wiki and other online encyclopedias. And literally, I could spend hours just going from one Wiki link to another, in the pursuit of interesting topics. So having that, but with this visual element that only virtual reality can provide, man, do I envy that current and next generation of kids. They are in for just a world of wonder. Probably very much like, our parents thought about us as Gen Xers and I guess millennials now. All right, guys, that is it for Monday's news. Hopefully get the tracking, and I still have the Mervils game to upload for Sony. Cheers, guys.